What's up, you guys? American, welcome back to my channel. No, you grow up. So today's video is coming out about a month behind schedule, and I am going to be covering my top 10 TMNT figures for the first half of 2024. So I started working on this video, I recorded the intro, the outro, and then I kind of just got in a funk and just didn't really want to be on camera or talk on camera or do anything like that. So then when I finally got around to finishing the video, I went to edit it and my audio was all messed up. I usually just buy cheap adapters for my microphone to go to my phone, and this one actually lasted longer than anyone had. And then a couple days after that, I ended up getting a brand new phone, which is actually a huge plus for this channel. So for those of you that are unaware, I run the entirety of my channel from my phone. I shoot all my video, record everything, do all my editing on my phone. And to make things even more insane, I've been doing it on an iPhone mini this whole time. So I got a Pro Max now, way better camera, way better screen, so hopefully the production on my videos get a little bit better as well. So anyway, moving on to what we're actually talking about in this video, my top 10 TMNT figures for the first half of this year. So even though this list is coming out in August, I'm still just keeping it to figures that I picked up between January and June. I've gotten some other great figures since then, but we're gonna save all those for the second half of this year. And while there's definitely some figures coming that I feel like will crack this top 10, the top 10 for the first half of this year is very solid. I think this year's top 10 list is going to be my best top 10 list of all time. I think it'll only be my third, so that's not really saying much. On top of the usual suspects like NECA and Super 7, we've gotten some great third-party figures, as well as the figures that I'm sure everybody knew was going to show up on my list, the Mezco Turtles. So with all that crap out of the way, let's take a look at my top 10 figures for the first half of this year. Alright, you guys, so kicking off this countdown, coming in at number 10 is the Rage Toys Master, aka the Not Splinter figure. This company has gone by several different names. It was Fury Toys. I think it's shifting to Rave Toys for the Not Michelangelo figure that's about to come out. And I feel like they're just doing everything they can to outrun that copyright infringement lawsuit. But whatever name this company is going by, these figures are awesome. Compared to NECA or Super 7, their detail, their paint, their sculpting, the soft goods, everything is just on a completely different level. One of my favorite things about this figure is his hat. It's held on by a magnet, which is awesome. Like, it keeps it super secure. It's not going anywhere. It's on there super well. And I don't know if that's something that's common with import companies, because I haven't really bought in a lot of import figures, but I really do appreciate that. Like, that keeps his hat on there so much better. And I feel like that's one thing that I hate about figures. If they have like glasses or hats and they just don't stay on right, it drives me nuts, and his has no problem there. It has a really good wash on it that gives it a lot of depth, and I feel like soft goods are hit or miss with some people. I've really grown to like them if they're done correctly. I definitely feel like some figures do look a little dollish with soft goods, but this figure looks amazing. When I talked about this guy in my Open That Shit Up video, I did show that the scroll does unroll and it has some pretty good detail on it. This ooze canister is really cool, and I like that he can hold all these accessories. He can hold these little blades down here as well. I don't know how I feel about the little rope thing that holds him on there, but there are very few nitpicks with this figure. If I were to actually rank figures more objectively, which I'm really poor at, this guy probably would rank a little bit higher, but every other figure that's on my list I just feel like is a little bit more fun to me, and I definitely do rank with bias, and it's okay, it's my list, I can do whatever I want, but this is a really awesome figure. Really excited to get more figures from this line. So coming in at number 9 is my Punk Michelangelo from the NECA Toon line. Typically I'll pick Raft for my representative for the Turtles, but I picked Mikey because he's the only one with a unique head sculpt, and I really like this head sculpt a lot. I'd say that's probably my biggest nitpick with this 4-pack is the other 3 Turtles just have like a regular smile, and Mikey just has this big shit-eating grin, which I really like. I know a lot of people had complaints about the jackets because these are the ones that were accurate to the episode that comes a little bit later. I really like the tennis shoes on these figures. They're all just color swaps. They all have the same shoes, but they are really fun. Kind of annoying, we're gonna have to wait for a 2-pack to get the ones from season 1 that everybody really wanted, but it's still cool that we have this set. These guys were teased a long time ago, so really cool that we ended up getting these, even though it took a while. Probably my favorite variant Turtles from this line. I definitely like these guys a little bit more than the Turtles in Disguise. The soft good trench coats are really nice, but these guys with the shoes and the head sculpts are just a little bit more fun in my opinion. Coming in at number 8 is my NECA Last Ronin Raft. And one of the hardest parts about this list was picking which turtle from this line I was going to put in my list. Like I said earlier, Raft's usually my default when I have 4 similar turtles. I definitely don't want every one of my top 10 lists to just be all turtles from the same set, so I'll always try to just pick one that I like the most, and with this one, it did actually end up being the Raft. And again, it definitely could be some bias just because I do like Raft the best, but I feel like I like his armor the most. Leo's isn't bad, I just don't really like the shape of Leo's head. Like, it's not something that makes me hate the figure. I still really like the figure a lot, but I feel like Raft is just the best looking turtle from this line in general. I wish Donnie would have had one of these armored looks, but I guess it's just sticking with the comic accuracy. I can't remember if it ever showed him with this armor on or not. Been a while since I've read those books. And his figure is way different from the other turtles, but I still do like that one a lot. Like, we've gotten so many sets of just regular turtles, so it's cool to get something a little bit different. One thing I really do like about these figures is how they hold their weapons a little bit differently. So Raft holds his sais in the back, Mikey holds his nunchucks up front. And again, I just like that little bit of variation. He has this little holster where he can hold his hand dagger, which is really cool. And my only real nitpick with this figure is I feel like the black paint around his mask just isn't as sharp as it could be. But other than that, pretty good QC on these figures. I haven't had a lot of issues with the Ronin line, which has been nice. It's cool that they pumped all 4 of these turtles out as fast as they did. I didn't really feel a reason to go in on the first of fall Raft. This one was good enough for me. That book's already sad enough. I don't need my shelf to be that sad, so I like this nice alive version of Raft. And it's a really cool figure. This is a really good line. Don't know how much deeper I'm going to go in on this line. I might just stick with the stuff from the first volume. We'll see. But regardless, this line has been really great this year. I feel like they're just killing it with the comic book stuff. So coming in at number 7 is the NECA Last Ronin Foot Soldier. And this guy is definitely my sleeper figure of the year. I really like the way he looked from all the promo pics. But getting this guy in hand, I could not believe how much detail is in this figure. I feel like this is objectively probably one of NECA's best figures of all time. The only reason it's coming in at number 7 for me is again because of bias. There's some things that I just really like about the figures that are above it. But if I were just ranking figures objectively, this guy would probably be top 3. All the detail inside of his body, the paint inside of his neck, inside of his head, is just, I don't know, a lot more than I would ever expect from NECA. Whoever sculpted this figure is definitely the best person they have working for them. NECA has given us some really good army builders in the last couple years. The Sinja and Utram were both sleepers for me as well. I didn't expect much out of those figures, and the same thing with those. They had great detail. The paint was really good on them, but I think this guy beats them both. This is, like I said, it's objectively one of NECA's best figures ever. Like, it's just a foot soldier, it's an army builder, but they knocked it out of the park with this one. I have 2 of them right now. Don't know how many more I'm gonna get just because I don't have a lot more room for my NECA Ronin figures. But we'll see. Maybe I will grab 2 more of these because I don't know. It'd be a shame not to get more of what I consider to be their best army builder of all time. So we'll see. Time will tell. High recommend on this figure for sure. Probably really easy to find these guys at Best Buy still. Pretty sure they're available on BBTS. Go out, get this guy. You won't be disappointed. Coming in at number 6 is Super 7 Scumbug. So Scumbug is one of my top 10 original Playmate sculpts. I've always thought he's a really good figure. He's really fun. He's got a lot of good detail. I feel like his balance between human and mutant is really good. And this figure just does exactly what I want Super 7 to do, and it took that figure and just made it a little bit better. So Super 7 is usually very lacking in the paint, and that is not the case with this figure. I'm guessing that's why he was the higher price point, because he's not extra big or anything, so I did not understand why this was a $65 figure. I definitely think that's too much money. $55 is too much money, but it is what it is. One thing about the sculpt though, so my buddy Brendan from Brendan's Rambles talked about the Playmates figures, and he actually pointed out that on the regular Playmates figure, his guts aren't just like random purple guts. They're actually like little arms and feelers and stuff that are inside of his body, or I guess hugging to his body or whatever. And I feel like that was just completely omitted with this figure, which is kind of a bummer. Like, I feel like they really could have killed it with that and just made those hands look a little bit better, because again, I never even realized that's what it was until he was the one that brought that up. I've always liked this head sculpt a lot. Probably one of my favorite Playmates head sculpts ever. His eyes are just crazy, and this figure just looks so good. A lot of times I will use the alternate head sculpts, but I just like his original one so much that I wanted to stick with it. He has all these little bugs that poured in, and he comes with 6 of them, but I can only find 4 ports on him. So if there's 2 that I'm not seeing, let me know in the comments. I have like no QC issues with this guy. It's a very good figure, probably one of Super 7's best. Coming in at number 5 is my NECA Toon Business Suit Casey. And this is where my bias really shows in this countdown. Without a doubt, the Last Ronin Foot Soldier, the not Splinter figure, they are objectively better figures. But this guy is just so much fun. Like, this episode is so damn ridiculous. Imagine living in a world where you could go into a job interview wearing a hockey mask and get the job. That's the kind of world that I want to live in. And that's why you just gotta love Casey Jones so much. Not a whole lot going on in the sculpt department. Like, there's nothing too exciting, but what is there is done really well. The paint's really good, the lines are really sharp, He has a new head sculpt, which is really awesome. I know a lot of people are swapping this one out for the old one, but I'm just going to keep it on this one. I'm sure we're probably going to get a new Casey at some point, but I just like keeping my classic figures classic. But without a doubt, this is a much better head sculpt. And even though it looks like the toon line's starting to wind down, I'm glad we're getting these gems here towards the end. Definitely not a necessary figure, but a really fun figure to have. And he'll definitely be close to the chopping block by the end of this year, but he'll probably end up squeaking into my top 10. Coming in at number 4 is Super 7 Slam Duncan Don. And this figure might be the most fun figure on my list. Everything about this figure is awesome. Yes, I wish they would have went with the red jersey. I understand why they went with the white one, because it's more rare, but I really don't give a shit about that one. Would I like a white jersey, Don? Hell yes. Am I ever going to pay that kind of money for that figure? Definitely not. But regardless, I still like this figure a lot. He does not come with his flight stand, which is a bummer. I feel like a figure like this should definitely have one included. So if you don't have one, get one. You can have a lot more fun with this figure. I usually don't talk about accessories in this video, but I'm just going to touch on his really quick because it's cool. The basketball hoop is his bow staff, and the backboard turns into a shield, which is really cool. I just thought that was a neat way that they went about that. And taking a look at this figure itself, really good figure from Super 7. Like I said, they did a really good job on the QC with this wave. Hips, shoulders, elbows, knees, everything's nice and tight the way you want it to be. Not a lot of paint, but there is paint where there needs to be, and it's done really good. Definitely not sloppy or anything. My one nitpick with the figure, I wish they would have made a head sculpt with a goggle sculpted on, because they do pop off super easy, but that really is pretty much my only nitpick with this figure outside the jersey color. And those are two kind of minor things, because at the end of the day, neither of those break this figure, and it is a really cool figure. Really like the tennis shoes on here. I'm a big fan of Reebok pumps. I actually have a pair of Shack Attacks. Cool how they made the tennis shoes into the shape of the turtle foot. Like I said, Super 7 just crushed it with this wave, and as much as I like this figure, still not even my favorite figure from this wave. We are now into my top 3 figures from the first half of this year, and coming in at number 3 is my Rage Toys Samurai Autumn Not Donatello figure. And just like I talked about with Splinter, these figures are just excellent. They're a little bit smaller scale. I know some people don't like that, but I like it. Like I said, the detail and the paint on these figures are just excellent. It looks like the Mikey's about to go pinless, which is really cool because their pins are very, I don't know, obtrusive's not the right word. I don't really know the right word to use there. Obnoxious, but yeah, the pins don't look great on these figures, but that's really my only complaint as far as the sculpt goes. Everything else is done really well on these figures. The Donatello actually comes with 3 looks, so we can have this look, his regular look, and then he has that sniper look as well. And it's a bummer that we're not getting the samurai head for the Michelangelo, because that is the look I like to use for these guys. I don't know why, I think it just looks really fun. I know they're supposed to be ninjas, and a samurai is like not the opposite of a ninja, but it's not a ninja. But I like that looks, because like I said, we have tons of turtles, so just having something that just was a little bit different just made me excited. But I still like the regular versions of these turtles, and that's probably what I'll shift them to once the Mikey comes out. I do wish Donatello's tech gear could come on and off. I feel like for the future look, it definitely doesn't bother me, but when they're in this samurai look, like in my head, I like to think about like them actually being turtles back in feudal Japan, as opposed to like the future turtles that went back in time to feudal Japan, which I feel like is like what it has to be with this tech and stuff. But again, just small nitpicks. It's in my top 3, so I clearly really like this figure. He's a little bit taller than the Leo, and I do like the Leo a little bit more. I don't know why. I don't know if it's because I got it first and it kind of just was like this new exciting thing, and maybe I just didn't feel that as much with the Donnie. But regardless, it's a really good figure. The Mikey looks really good. The Bebop they showed off looks really good. And clearly, I'm most excited to see what that Raft looks like. Hopefully they do him justice. Really cool line. I'm definitely going to see it through and get everything that comes out. He's still available. The Splinter's still available. The only one you might have trouble tracking down is the Leo, but if you're interested in these figures, I would definitely say pull the trigger. They're a high recommend from me. It's one of my favorite lines, if not my favorite line. It's just hard to have a lot of hype around a line where figures don't come out as much, but when these figures have come out the couple times they have, it's been really exciting. They're awesome figures. High recommend for me. So coming in at number 2, my runner-up for the first half of the year is Super 7 Wingnut. And I'm counting Screw Loose as an accessory. Yes, he does have a surprising amount of articulation, but I feel like if you considered him to be a figure, he'd be a really crappy figure, so I'd rather just look at him as a really good accessory. So everything that I said about Scumbug it's amplified to the max with this figure. Like, it is just bigger, louder, more obnoxious than the Playmates one, and it might be in contention for my favorite Super 7 figure ever right now. He's right up there with Bebop, Slash, and Muckman. Like, he's just such a big and beefy figure, and I know bigger does not always mean better, but sometimes bigger does mean better, and with this figure, that is the case. Like, he's just so big and just has so much shelf presence. I like him so much. He comes with that alternate head sculpt that definitely makes him look a little bit more Batman, but I stuck with the original one because I don't know, it's a little bit funner, and that's what I like with the Playmates line. Like, I like that they're a little bit fun and goofy. Taking a look at Screw Loose first here. So he doesn't have leg articulation. Those are locked into place, but his arms do have shoulder rotation. They can flex and pivot, which is really surprising. Like, I didn't expect that. His wings also have articulation, and his head does. So out of all the Buddy figures, he's definitely the best one. Like, I call it like a 1.5 pack. I really can't call it a 2 pack, but this guy is really good. He can hold accessories, which is cool. So like I said, it makes him a little bit more than an accessory, but not quite a figure. I definitely have to say NECA is the best because it is an actual figure, but this guy is really cool too. Taking a look at this guy, like I said, Super 7 just killed it with this wave. The detail is so good. Not a lot of paint as far as color goes, but again, the paint that's on here is really good. The gold on his costume looks really good. His little wings have a wash, which is really nice. Like, again, for Super 7, just going a little bit extra there, doing more than they usually do, and I appreciate it. There's a little bit of color shading on the metal wings as well. His cape does have a bendy wire in it, but not really the best bendy wire. It's really flimsy. I probably wouldn't bend it too much because they definitely feel like they could break easily. Just like with the Playmates figure, his accessories can clip onto his wings, which is really cool, and he does come with this grappling hook, which goes into his gun, which is a little nice add-on. I knew this was going to be a cool figure, so I can't really call it a sleeper. I did have high hopes for this one, but he still definitely did exceed these hopes. Like I said, I knew he was probably going to be my favorite figure out of this wave, but I didn't think he'd be like as cool as Muckman, Slash, and Bebop to me. But if you exclude the glow-in-the-dark figures, definitely a top 10 Super 7 figure, if not a top 3 Super 7 figure for me right now. So I don't think this is going to be any surprise to anybody, but coming in at my top spot for the first half of this year are the Mezco Turtles. And even though Raft probably is my favorite sculpt, like, they're all pretty similar, but they do have unique sculpts. Mikey has the best spinning nunchuck accessories he's ever had, so I had to use him as my representative for these turtles. I don't know why it's taking companies this long to add 2 of these to a pack, but they finally did. Looks like Super 7's following suit with the 2K3 Turtles, and I feel like at this point these need to be standard on Michelangelo. But I feel like Mezco was the first company to give us 2, and they did it the best. Like, these look amazing. They're done really well, and they just add so much shelf presence to this figure. And these figures just feel really good. Like, their articulation is just so smooth. It's tight, but it doesn't catch at all. Like I said, it's just so smooth, it's almost hard to believe. The pads and the belts are all faux leather, but they do feel really good. Mikey has these darts that go into his belt, and I think the other turtles all have little hand daggers. And I'd say Mikey has one of the plainer belts. Like, the other turtles definitely have more pouches and stuff. And I'm a Rod Liefeld guy, so I'm a big fan of pouches, so I like that they all have those. They all have clips for their grappling hooks, which is really cool. And I really don't know what I can say about these guys that haven't been said. They're probably the most reviewed figures of the last year for Turtles. I feel like everybody and their brother did a review on these figures, and rightfully so. It's an awesome set. I did not get the Toon ones because, I mean, just $800 on 2 sets of Turtles seems insane. So a little too much for me, but I'm happy that I got these ones. I did not pull the trigger on these guys until they actually showed the prototypes at Comic-Con or whatever. I actually didn't think they looked that great from the promo pictures. And I know they were just digital renders, but I really didn't know how I felt. I didn't know if that kind of money was worth it for a set of Turtles, but once I actually saw the prototypes or whatever they had at Comic-Con, they just looked amazing, and in hand they looked even better. Like, if there's one thing I was ever okay splurging on, it was these, because they are my premier set of Turtles now. They're the ones that live in the living room. They replace my SH Figuarts Turtles, and these are without a doubt my favorite set of Turtles now. I have a hard time believing anybody comes along and replaces these guys as my number 1 this year. Definitely an amazing set of Turtles. Getting them on the secondary market now is absolutely insane, but if you do have too much money and you didn't know what to do with it, this would be a good place to spend it. All right, you guys, so here's my final group shot with all my figures. I know some of these figures I haven't talked about yet. I had intended on doing one more open that shit up before I did this video, so I will do a video where I talk about the Ronin figures, Super 7 Wave 10, and some others. If I had to pick any honorable mentions for this list, it probably would be any of the NECA Ronin figures. All four of the brothers turned out really good. Casey turned out really good. Even the Karai figure was a lot better than I expected it to be. I know a lot of people probably would have had that Foot Enforcer figure in their top 10. I do think it's a really good figure, and I do like the Mirage line a lot, but I don't know, there's something about that figure that's just a little bit bland to me. Like, I feel like all the figures on this list just had a little bit more edge, a little bit more pop, and while I do think it is a really good figure, it probably would just come inside my top 20 for the year. At no point in time did I ever think it was going to be in my top 10. And my last honorable mention would probably be Super 7 Zack. Like, I think this is one of the best Super 7 waves that's come out in a long time. Probably the best since Wave 4. I did not get the Flock Splinter because I'm not going in on variant figures from them anymore outside the glow-in-the-dark stuff. So I feel like a lot of these guys probably will be in my top 10 list at the end of this year, but there's some great figures coming. I just got Tatsu. I haven't opened them up yet. That NECA Mirage Rat King's lurking out there, and I'm very excited for that figure. I have the Playmates Remastered Turtles that I'm really excited to open. And who knows, maybe there will be some stuff released that we haven't even seen yet. So thank you guys for watching. Thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for sticking around. I know I keep saying I feel like I'm going to get back on the horse. I'm going to get back to turning out content the way I used to. But this time, I'm just going to say I'm going to make videos when I'm going to make videos. I've said this before, I don't ever plan on walking away from this channel. Even if I went 6 months without making a video, I'm sure I'd come back to it because at this point in my life, like, I just can't really picture my life without YouTube. Even though it's not the focus it was like a year ago at this time, it's still something that I just really enjoy doing. It's a lot of fun to me, and it's just, I don't know, it's brought me a lot of joy, and it's something that I just want to keep going for as long as I can. But that's all I got for you guys in this one, so take it easy, be safe, and I'll catch you guys later. Peace.